So, for the better part of the last 2 years, my identity has been enormously wrapped up in being very vocal and outspoken about all the madness of the last 2 years. I'm pretty sure I don't need to reference it by name, we all know what I'm talking about. And I'm down in Melbourne, Australia, and so if you've been following along, you know that it has been an absolute madhouse here the last 2 years. And I got really caught up in the whole freedom fighter, truther movement. And yeah, I was very outspoken, both online and in real life. I attended a number of protests here in Melbourne over the last 2 years, and I don't know how to describe. It's a bit overwhelming to think of it. Like, it gets me a bit emotional. The protests were, in a weird sort of way, I'm going to say they were the highlights of my last 2 years. Because, well, it's loaded. It is loaded to talk about this stuff, but it's been very lonely to be someone that's taken the position that I have. And yeah, it's been lonely, it's been scary, and it's been dark. And to find yourself in a sea of thousands and thousands of other people that are experiencing the same things as you are and have the same thoughts on it as you do is, priceless. It's a real spirit lifter. I think that's one of the biggest values of these protests. I don't think we really achieved much as far as democracy is involved in this time. However, what it did for all of us that were there to know that we were not alone, that we were far from alone, that there was that many people that had our backs, and that we're also doing what they needed to do on the daily. That was pretty cool. It's pretty cool. It really helped. It really bolstered me when I go back into the real world and come across opposing attitudes. It made it easier to deal. And then today is the biggest one by far. Today's the 20th of November, right? I think that's right, 20th of November. I'm pretty sure this is a day that's going to go down in history. I've got friends that are at the protest there today, and today's a gorgeous, sunny spring day. Blue skies, sun, little bit of light breeze. It is the quintessential day to go out, and I imagine the atmosphere is just electrifying. So I've got friends there, and apparently the last estimate was like 140,000 people, and that was an hour into the protest, so by now the numbers would have just swelled, and I'm not there. After almost 2 years of this being what I lived and breathed, and all the stress and all the drama and everything I put myself through for this movement, and I'm not there, and I'm feeling very conflicted. I don't actually know how I feel about this. I'm not there for a couple of reasons. And I touched on it a little bit yesterday in my giant ramble. My mindset really has shifted enormously in the last month. I mean, it is almost unrecognizable. And this aspect of it is really the key thing that has changed. For sure, I now have a greater sense of self-worth around business success and other areas of life. But this thing for me is probably the most dramatic difference, is that I was consumed with knowing as much as I could about everything that was happening with the C word. Here and internationally, I was glued to my Telegram and all the different channels that I was following there with updates. I was constantly refreshing it. So even after I deleted Instagram and stopped actually being an activist, I was still taking all this information in every single day, and I was just compelled. I needed to know. I couldn't tear myself away from it. And I was doing that because I basically felt like the world was gonna collapse around me if I stopped. Like I felt like I needed to be as informed as I possibly could so I could stay one step ahead of the game and be prepared. All it was doing though was making me weaker. It was stressing me out so much. My anxiety was through the roof, and it just doesn't do you any favors being that hyper informed. 4 weeks ago, I joined the Lion's Den, and since logging into the Lion's Den, that's it. It was like a switch flipped, and all of a sudden, all that compulsion, it vanished. It just absolutely evaporated, and I'm not kidding. It was the moment that I logged in to the Lion's Den. Since that moment, I've got a couple of resources that I'll check out from every other day, because it is still very important to be informed of what's going on. Absolutely. But I realized that was all this time and energy that I was spending focused on this thing that has been engineered to take our attention. I was giving away my energy, and all of my energy was going out to this thing. And it wasn't leaving anything for me, and it wasn't leaving anything for the people I love around me. I was still looking after myself and, still living life, and everything seemed like it was going more or less all right. But now that I have reclaimed my energy for myself and my attention for myself, I see how much of my life force I was giving away. It's felt incredible to just focus on number one and make me the top priority. Knowing all that stuff, I'm not in a position to really do much about it anyway. I'm kind of helpless, and seeing that stuff all the time, and then knowing that you can't do anything about it, like where does that leave you? Feeling powerless like that, I was never going to elevate myself anyway. If that's how I felt about myself, if that was the association I had of myself in the world, then what would I ever create of any substance? How would I ever elevate myself up if that's who I thought I was? And all of that is being reprogrammed and displaced for me every single day that I just continue to focus on myself and continue on improving myself. And now I'm finding, in the last month, I'm finding that my world and everything around me is expanding, and things are getting better. Everything's improving, and I'm improving, and it's reflected on the outside, and I'm starting to be able to appreciate the situation we're in now. It came through so much stress and so much anxiety, and so the drama's been unreal. But if I look at it objectively and I kind of push away the circumstances under which we come to find ourselves now, this is the best time of my life. Well, no. It's shaping up to be the best time of my life. I'm so happy right now. I'm so content. I have everything I need. There's so much more that I want, but I'm working towards that stuff now. And so that feels really satisfying. All this to say that I've gone from a victim mindset to a bit more of a growth mindset, or a lot more of a growth mindset. And suddenly, I feel like I'm allergic to all the talk of the C word. And I'm not at that protest today because I felt like it wasn't aligned with the person that I am becoming. And the people that I admire and the people that I'm aspiring to be more like, I don't see any of these people going out to protests. I see them taking care of themselves, taking care of their families, taking care of their communities. I see them working so that they can be in a position to where they can actually make a difference. That's their focus, and there's something very admirable in that. I think the protest feels like an easy win, and it feels like you're doing something, and you are. My experience of these protests the last couple of years has been exceptionally positive, and I would like to make a video talking about that and that alone. But, sorry, someone came out and I lost my train of thought. Yeah, I don't feel like going to these protests is aligned with the person I'm becoming. And there's also a little sense of me a little part of me that feels like, it's weird. So this last month that I've been exclusively focusing on this like real winner's mindset, going to these protests now, it feels like it's a real victim-y kind of thing to do, you know, to show up and to be standing at the closed off, heavily guarded doors of Parliament and shaking your fist and chanting and demanding that your freedom and your rights get given back to you. Democracy absolutely has to function, and this is what I'm saying. I don't know. I really wish I was there. I really wish my voice was being added to that. I really wish my voice was in that crowd right now. I do, with all my heart. And at the same time, I sort of feel like what I'm doing today instead is more valuable for me in the long run. I don't want to beg someone for my freedom. I want to make my freedom. I know my freedom is inherently given to me, or my freedom is inherently mine. I just need to claim it. And that seems like an important attitude to cultivate. It seemed like to me it felt like if I went to this protest today, that would be taking a step backwards and sliding back into my old personality. Not that there's anything wrong with my old personality. It's just not who I want. It's just who I'm moving away from that person. I feel weird. I'm sure it would have been incredible there today. I'm sure it would have been absolutely astonishingly amazing. Can you imagine a crowd of that size? 140,000 people, last estimates that I heard. Even if it's less, my God, even a crowd of a few thousand people when they're that passionate and that fired up and the weather's this good. Oh man, I am so stoked for everyone that's there today. You're gonna look back on this day and be so proud and so happy you were there. And yeah, part of me wishes I was there, but part of me knows that that was a chapter of my life that served so many purposes. I learned so much about myself in the last 2 years. Learned so much about the world too, for better or for worse. And now it's time to, I guess, take that reality, know that it is kind of dark. There is darkness in the world. Know that, acknowledge it, and now focus on growing and leveling up to a point where A, that doesn't touch me, and B, I am in a position to influence and affect that. That feels better. That feels way more powerful to me than going and pleading and demanding. Which is also important too, though. I'm not saying people shouldn't be out there. Again, oh my goodness. It's an identity crisis. It's just happens so fast. Like, I've had plenty of times in my life where something that I identified with exceptionally strongly has stopped appealing to me as much, and it is very confusing. It's the unknown. It's letting go of someone you used to be. It's letting go of a person, essentially. It's just never happened for me so fast. It's usually like a really gradual kind of fade. But this was snap overnight. Quantum leap, quantum shift. November 20th, 2021. I think this is going to be a day that we all remember, no matter what. Maybe that was a bit over the top. There's a lot of you that have no idea there was a protest today. There's a lot of you that don't care. But I know, and I care. And just because I wasn't there, doesn't mean I don't care. But I do care a little bit, because for the last 2 years, I thought every single person had to stand up and fight. And I thought it was irresponsible for the people that were just getting on with their own lives. I thought those people were, I thought they were being selfish jerks. And now come to find I'm being one of them, because now there's all these other people that have added their voices and joined this movement, and they're all doing such amazing work, and there's so many of them. And I guess I feel like that chapter of my life, I feel like I've contributed as much as I can to this for now. I sacrificed my mental and physical health for it for a very long time, and I feel like it's got enough steam now that, I don't know, I can't sacrifice myself like that anymore. So I guess that's where it's so hard to let go, because for almost 2 years I resented the people that agreed with me but weren't doing anything about it. And now I am one of those people. So that's a bit strange. Feels good though. It feels good to be, it feels good to feel like I'm more important than that thing that they whipped up to distract us all with. So yeah, it's nice that it's not ruling my life anymore. I forget about it sometimes until I go out to the shops and see the masks and see people being all buggy about checking in and doing all that. And I feel bad for those people. They're still living in that reality. They're still living in the reality where that's a big deal. And I'm not there anymore. And aside from a little bit of, maybe shame and guilt that I'm sure will fade with time, I'm doing good. And ranting on 20-minute videos in my garage. Life's good.